Wow, what even information. Thank you for coming to the Skeptic Psychic. I am, of course, you're just humble, sad, pathetic host, Richard Grick. And with me is the amazing, exciting, and the star of the show, my sister, Kimber Rodriguez. How you doing today, Kim?
I would not say you are pathetic. You are humble, yes, but not pathetic. You are a wonderful brother with a heart of gold.
Yes. Say ding!
Yes, you are very, very wonderful. So, how has your week been?
My actually, we haven't seen each other in about 3 weeks. How have you?
Yeah, it's been about 3 weeks since we've been live.
Yeah, so as gone through and listened to our classic episodes, we just want to know anyone in the chat right now. Tell us, what did you think about our classic episodes? I mean, was Han Holzer the number one exciting news, or did you kind of prefer more of a mellow, uh, modern day prophet, Edgar Casey?
Or were you a little spooked out by being buried alive?
Buried alive.
Yes. So, what have you been up to these past 3 weeks?
I have been working, sleeping, and eating. Uh, Kind of getting to a point where uh not sure where I want to go, but I may be moving again.
I told you, come down here. We
No,
could, we can
can't come
do.
down there. It's too hot down there.
It's just as hot here as it is there.
I know. That's what the main problem is. We got to find someplace cooler.
No, because then that's too far away. I'll never see you again.
I know. I know.
At
I
least
know.
if you're here, we can have, we can be in our same area together, excuse me, together doing the podcast instead of in
Yes,
different locations.
but I'll also miss the wonderful people of Roswell.
But you'll have the wonderful people here.
Uh,
The
very
beautiful
limited. What?
people, the beautiful people.
Yeah, right. Okay. Anyway,
Yes.
so getting off topic, I do apologize. You know, ADHD with a little bit of autism gives off a mind of. So we're actually talking today about a very famous, historic, exciting place in Northern California. Where is that wonderful place?
It is actually located in San Jose, California.
Which just
And
south of Sacramento.
yes, this place I have been obsessed with since I was about in the sixth grade. I remember we had to do these little exercises in my English class where we had to read these stories and then answer questions about the stories afterwards. And so the story that I chose was about this location.
Right, and this is a very large place with many rooms.
Yes, and the reason I was so excited and obsessed with this place is at the
Many
time I
rooms.
did not know that it was haunted. I just knew it had all these many rooms and doors leading to nowhere, staircases leading to nowhere, and secret passageways. Which, any kid is going to enjoy a secret passageway. I mean, come on.
Many rooms.
I want to have a house like in Young Frankenstein where you pick the candle up and the wall spins.
Put the candle back.
Yes. So if you haven't figured it out yet, people, we will be talking about the Winchester Mystery House.
Yes.
Yes, it is an awesome place. I would love to go someday. Have you ever been there?
No, I have not.
I'll have to plan a trip, definitely.
Yes, we do.
Yes. Well, why don't you kick us off?
Alrighty, so I will kick us off towards the goalpost of life and tell you the wonderful story about the Winchester Mystery House. It is a mansion in San Jose, California that was once the personal residence and reference to the one, the only. Sarah Winchester, not to be confused with the mother of Dean and Sammy. But
Yes.
uh, the, uh, the the house itself is known for its size and strange design, including doors that open up into walls, staircases that lead to ceilings, and windows that look out into other rooms. The mansion has about 180 rooms, including 4 bedrooms, 2 ballrooms, 47 fireplaces, mind you, and 10,000, that's 10,000 panes of glass, 17 chimneys, 2 basements, and count 'em, 3 elevators.
Now, this is interesting. It has 47 fireplaces, but only 17 chimneys.
Yes.
That's very interesting.
Hmm.
And that was 40 bedrooms, not four.
I thought I said 40.
No, you said four, but that's okay. I did. I digress.
All right. So, who is Sarah Winchester? Well, she was born in New Haven, Connecticut around 1839 to Leonard Hardy and his beautiful wife, Sarah. Her, uh, her maiden name was Burns. She was the fifth of 7 children. The Pardis were a respectable and prosperous family, being quite intelligent and well educated, especially for a woman of her time. Sarah had a passion for the arts. Her favorite passion was music. Not much is known to pretty much on her early life. However, she was described as being quite charming. She was petite and attractive, making her captivating to all her little beaux.
On September 30th, back in 1862, she married William Wirt Winchester. This was the son of Oliver Winchester, and Oliver founded and owned the company Winchester Repeating Arms. 4 years into their marriage, Sarah had a child, Annie, which was their only child. She did suffer from marasmus, words, and that is a severe form of malnutrition. So sadly, she only lived a few weeks.
Is this their
Um,
mother?
no, no, this is their only daughter, Annie.
Okay.
Both Sarah and William were devastated by the loss of their only child. However, William did continue to work with his father at the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. This company made innovative firearms throughout the latter 1800s. And most notably, they made rifles. These rifles could shoot multiple rounds before needing to be reloaded. And it allowed for quicker shooting than other guns at its time. This was used widespread across the westward expansion of the US due to this significance. And settlers, cowboys, lawmen, and also some Native American tribes used this for various purposes. These included hunting, personal defense, and also skirmishes, thus making it the go-to firearm of the time.
Now, the role of the Winchester in the American West brings up the uh, Americana view of the old stagecoach driver with the 12 gauge shotgun and his Winchester repeaters sitting on the back of, uh, right beside him. Now, it does kind of bring in that image of what would be seen in uh, dime novels, uh, Hollywood westerns, and as well as songs of the time. The further reinforce the status and show the number of Winchester rifles are solid, and this widespread adoption made it a common sight in from the east all the way to the west coast.
Annie, Get Your Gun comes to mind.
Yes. The rifle has gained popularity and coined the term "the gun that won the West." And as a reflection of its rifle's practical significance and a nod to its legendary status in American lore, the phrase captures this romanticized vision of the American West, where the Winchester, a tool of exploration, defense, and sometimes conquest. While the rifle itself played a significant role in the Western expansion and often celebrated in popular culture, it was also an instrument of conflicts and battles. The technology superior of the Winchester and other similar firearms meant that settlers could, in fact, protect their homestead from uh, both the Native American tribes and other groups who might not have access to such advanced weaponry. The imbalance played into the broader themes of colonization, dominance, and forced assimilation into the indigenous culture. Now, I'd like to take a little moment right here, to say there were less Indian skirmishes than a lot of people think of. This was basically when you had the Winchester repeater rifle. It was good for hunting. It was good for somebody showing up at your front door and saying, "This is my property. You better get off." It was. It's more of a defense thing than it was an hunting rifle than anything else at the time. I mean, you would the old ways was basically you have to uh, prime your prime it, load it, and fire. Prime it, load it, fire. While the Winchester repeating rifle, prime it once and you were able to load up the button bullets and fire about 5 or 6 times before you had to prime it again.
This is still in use today as well.
Hmm.
I remember you guys growing up having Winchester rifles in the house.
I had a 20 gauge shotgun. I think our brother and dad both had
Winchester
Winchester.
have mm,
Yeah,
12 gauge. They had 12 gauges.
yeah.
Now, the success of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company and similar manufacturers of firearms in this time depended on the sales of their weapons, of course. I mean, any business is going to um, rely on their sales in order to make money. Um, but because of this, they did have a vested interest in promoting the use of firearms at the time, regardless of the ethical implications of the widespread use in conflicts causing much controversy. So it seems like even back then, guns were a controversy as they are today.
Yes.
It was recognized as both an iconic tool of exploration, like you said, for self defense against people attacking you or animal attacks and hunting. Um, and it was also dominating with its crucial for this comprehensive understanding in the place of history. Now, William, again, Sarah's husband, did work with his father up until 1880. And this is when Oliver passes away. When Oliver passed away, William became, being his son, became the leader of the company. However, his leadership was short-lived as he also died only a year later in 1881 due to tuberculosis. After his death, his widow.
TBO me.
What?
TBO me. Oh my.
He died of consumption.
Gumption.
He had the yumption.
Yep. It was part of his gumption.
Yes. After William died, his widow, Sarah, inherited a significant portion of the company's wealth, and this made her one of the wealthiest women of her time. Now, sometime after his death, Sarah moved from the East Coast to California. Now, on the skeptic side of things, the reason for this move is not entirely clear. Some thought that it was, she thought, she sought a better scenery, and wanted to be close to her family because she had relatives that lived on the West Coast. But in 1884, she purchased an 8-room farmhouse over in San Jose, California. And this house became the foundation of the Winchester Mystery House. Dun dun dun!
What? So at this point, Sarah had embarked upon a seamlessly endless construction a project that transformed the original 8-room house into a sprawling mansion with approximately 160 to 180 rooms. Construction continued around the clock 24/7 for almost 38 years until her death in 1922. The legend, let's talk about the medium for a second. Now, the legend of the medium in Sarah Winchester's life is one of the most endearing and widely circulated tales associated with her and the Winchester Mystery House. According to this legendary story, the deaths of her daughter Annie in 1866 and her husband William in 1881 made Sarah become consumed with grief. And
I
in
don't
her,
blame her. I would be too.
well, that's also during the time that he's, she lost this time of spiritualism, like Mrs. Lincoln and several others who have lost death as well from children, as well as uh, husbands. You know, you want to know what's on the other side.
Hmm.
So, in her quest to find answers and solace, she sought the advice of a medium, which was not too uncommon during this Victorian era. The medium told Sarah that there was a curse on the family due to the many deaths caused by the rifle in question. She set out to not only, I'm sorry, the medium reported that because of her deaths were were the uh, the effect of the many deaths that were consumed by the Winchester repeating rifle, thus cursing the family, the profit of the weapons production. And Sarah, the only way to appease these spirits had to these houses, build upon this house. Uh, Many times she slept in different rooms uh, to appease the spirits and protect herself from their wrath. Was to move west and build a house for them. However, there was a catch. The construction had to continue endlessly, and if she ever stopped building, the spirits would harm her. The directive said that the reason for never ending construction was to be on the Waverly.
Sorry, I just got a message from someone asking if we are live, and I'm like, yes, yes, we are. For some
Okay.
reason, it looks like the event was a little off. I'm not sure what's going on with that. It was late letting us know.
Hmm.
But yes, people, we are live.
And
And
we are not Limericks.
we are talking about the, if you were just joining us, we are talking about the Winchester Mystery House. Let us know in the chat if you're here. Say hello. And going back to the home, it is said that the design of the home was not a mistake or that it was a whimsical design, but that the purpose of this construction was to disorient and baffle any spirits that may wish harm to Sarah. The labyrinth design, with its many dead ends and strange routes, allegedly was a way for Sarah to evade, not invade, but evade any malevolent spirits that might be pursuing her within the house. And with creating such a complex and bewildering layout, she would always have a place to hide so that the spirits would find it challenging to locate her.
Hmm.
Now we're going to look at the number 13. For a long time, the number 13 has been thought of as being a very unlucky number. A lot of times, buildings will not have a 13th floor. Friday the 13th, everybody knows, is a bad luck day. Um, but It is also famously associated with the Mystery House. The precise reason for Sarah's obsession with the number is unknown, but it does appear repeatedly
I think
throughout.
I do want to say that there is a story behind that Friday the 13th, basically dealing with the fact of the story of the Knights Templar were supposedly burned alive at the stake on October 13th.
It is also, I would love to do an episode about Friday the 13th and talk about that as well as maybe some other superstitions.
Right.
If you're interested, you can let us know. And in the Winchester house, however, there are windows with 13 panes of glass. Some of the rooms do have 13 windows. There are staircases with 13 steps. Some of the walls in the house have 13 panels. And the greenhouse has 13 cupolas. Don't ask me what a cupola is. I don't know. All I know is Francis Ford Coppola.
Coppola.
Yes. Cupola, tomato, tomato. Now, some do speculate that Sarah believed the number 13 would help ward off these evil spirits. And maybe possibly this is a way to appease the spirits. The recurring use of the number could have also been a protective talisman or a method of confusing these malevolent entities. Given that the number 13 was and still is widely considered unlucky in the Western culture. So she could have been influenced by this superstition.
That is an interesting thing, you know. You ever see that movie number 13?
I've seen 13 ghosts.
Sometime, if you really getting off topic just briefly, if you ever want to see a really good suspenseful movie, and you're looking for something that really kind of sets you on the edge, spooky.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't the three. What's the number 23?
Oh, I've heard of that one with Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Yes, I've heard of that one.
Okay, I am going to find out. The reason I stopped there briefly for a second is I'm going to find out exactly what a cupla is. Cuploas, right?
Yes.
Uploas.
And I apologize while you're looking that up. I just found out that for some reason the show is not showing in the group. So I'm going to go ahead and post a link for YouTube. It should be there if anybody wants to see it. Be just a moment. Let me see.
Cupolas.
I need to find out what's going here on here.
Cupolas.
Yay, Shelly found us.
All right.
Yes, for those wanting to watch, unfortunately, we are for some reason not coming up on Facebook, but you can watch us on YouTube and Twitch. Oh, Shelly says that a cupola is a widow's walk on a house.
Basically, it's that little ventilation vent that you see on top of old houses, you know, where the weather vane sits.
Okay, she says it's a little room.
Yes. Now, let's talk about kind of sort of my least favorite topic, everybody, seances. Now, it is rumored that Sarah had nightly seances in a specific room inside the mansion, often referred as the seance room. It is said that she would use these sessions to communicate with spirits in the realm, possibly even receive guidance on how the construction of her home should proceed. Such stories suggest that Sarah would emerge from the nightly seances with new building plans or certain modifications, which she would then pass on to her construction crew the next morning. These spirit guided blueprints supposedly led her home to many architectural oddities. The seance room, like much of the house, has its share of architectural quirks. It has three entrances, but only one door that acts as an exit. This exit leads to a 9-foot drop down into a kitchen sink, which is downstairs, which has been baffled and intrigued by visitors for decades. The room was designed to be private and isolated from the rest of the house. Some stories suggest that Sarah was the only person who ever entered the seance room, aiding and adding to the air of the mystery.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I could possibly well be, but wasn't it common for Victorian style homes to have this little seance room? Um, since spirituality was so big back then. I do know that there's a place in the Black Swan Inn that's supposed to be like I don't know if they call it a meditation room or a seance room, but I know it's supposed to be this spiritually energized room that only one person can go into and you can sit there. And so I'm wondering if this is, Shelley says this was very in vogue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'd like to say sciences can be fun, but you got to be careful when having them. Speaking from personal experience, just be careful. Protect yourself. Close the circle when you're done, just like
Mm-hmm.
a Ouija board. You never know what could come in.
Yep.
Yes, death was very much romanticized then. We still want to do an episode talking about Victorian deaths and how they did
Right.
the pictures with the dead and one
Yes.
second.
Let's take a picture of Aunt Bertha and let's do a group shot. Come on, family photo.
But
Aunt
but
Bertha, just stay right here.
but Mama, Aunt Bertha's dead.
That's okay. We can always prop her up here. Junior, hold on to Aunt Bertha's hand and make
I
sure
don't want to touch her hand. It's cold.
Yes.
Yes, we digress.
Sorry.
Okay. Now, we do want to go ahead and talk about Sarah's passing herself. As she did pass away on September 5th, which is 2 days from now, will be the anniversary, back
Hmm.
in 1922. So this was about 101 years ago. She did die in her sleep of heart failure at the ripe old age of 82. Once she died,
Wow.
yes, once she died, construction on the house ended. They completed it. She did leave behind a will that was written, get this again, in 13 sections, and it was signed 13 times. Again, this was very consistent with the number 13 with the house designs. The bulk of her estate, that included the mansion, was bequeathed to her niece, Marion Marriott. Now, this is not to be confused with the Marriott hotel industry.
That I just want to make that clear because a lot of people are like that's kind of a bit odd that a hotel uh, a hotel uh, uh, family has got a tie to the Winchester family.
And
That
no,
it's
it's a
wrong.
different Marriott.
Yes, spelled differently too.
Yes. Um, After a short time, Marion did sell the mansion to a local investor. This sum was notably less than the estimated worth of the home at this time.
Yes.
However, it was decreased in value due to the mansion's confusing and unconventional layout. I mean, think about it. Who really wants to buy a house that has a door that leads to nowhere?
I remember when growing up, there was a church that actually had a door at the top of the well, had a door at the top of their on their second floor that when you opened was supposed to be led out to a stairs leading down, but the wind and tornado came through and knocked the stairs and never put it back up again.
Where was this at? Which church?
I don't remember the name of the church, but it was off Goliad, right before the bridge uh, leading, across W. Wright Road.
Interesting. Anyone from San Antonio who might know, leave us a
If it's
comment.
if it's still there.
It's probably been torn down. I mean, this was how many years ago?
Last time I was, I'd say last time I saw it was maybe about 10 years ago.
Interesting.
Hmm.
So in 1923, the house was leased to John and Mamie Brown. After a while, they did eventually purchase the home. And the Browns did recognize the potential of this house as being a tourist attraction. I mean, why else would you not? I mean, come on, what else are you going to do with a house with 47 fireplaces but only 17 chimneys, or windows leading to rooms or doors leading to nowhere? Why not make it a tourist attraction?
Yeah, probably with the seance room, more likely the fact of the reason why that door led out into the sink. It's like you want to put your dirty dishes in there after that midnight snack.
Yes, you're communing with the spirits, you bring
Right.
them offerings. You got to get rid of the leftovers, so why not have the kitchen sink right there?
Danita, we missed you. We love you. Welcome.
Yes, glad you're here. um Since it was opened up as a tourist attraction, it has been a popular spot, and it draws visitors intrigued by the unique architecture and the legends that surround the Winchester family and Sarah herself.
I think sometime that the gentleman who created Supernatural was kind of thinking along the lines of uh, the Winchester house when he was creating Sam and Dean, because the mother is named Sarah.
Interesting.
So, and they've actually talked about the fact that uh, the Winchester uh, patriarchal. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sure you enjoy our applause, but created a gun that was supposed to kill demons with special bullets. So
Interesting. That would be something to look into. If we have any supernatural fans out there, if you know if there's any correlation between the Winchester family in the real life as opposed to the show, let us know.
right. Now, throughout the years, efforts were made to maintain and restore parts of the mansion, ensuring the longevity as a tourist attraction. While the house remains largely untouched in terms of its original construction, the surrounding land saw some changes. Parts of the original estate were sold off to developers over the years. The Winchester estate was originally covering over 160 acres, but by the time of Sarah's death, it was reduced to 24. Over time, even more of this land was sold off or developed, leaving the mansion on a much smaller plot. In 1974, the Winchester Mystery House was recognized as a California Historical Landmark, number 868. If you guys are interested in seeing you know, it reflects its cultural significance and the role it played in the local history and folklore. Now, if we're going into the folklore, we can't overlook the fact that there have been rumored hauntings of the house itself, with its
Aura.
I know I was going to say or, but my tongue just did not want to
That's
work.
fine.
Of mystery has long been the subject of ghost stories and legends of the hauntings. These tales surrounding Sarah's motivation for building and have further contributed to the reputation as known as a haunted place.
Yes, one of the most frequently reported phenomena is the sound of
Do
footsteps.
do 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 do
Phenomena.
do 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 do.
It's the sound of footsteps echoing through the mansion's long corridors and empty rooms. Now, given the house's vastness and complex design, these sounds can be especially eerie as they reverberate off the walls. Visitors and staff have also reported hearing doors softly creaking open and then shutting on their own.
Mhm.
This is especially to be heard in sections of the mansion where supposedly no one is present. Also, some claim to hear indistinct whispering sounds in certain parts of the mansion. These soft voices, which are often unintelligible, add to the house's reputation for being haunted.
Mhm.
Some reports describe the sounds of distinct conversations, as if people are talking in other parts of the house. However, upon investigation, the areas are found to be empty, and there is no clear source for these voices. Now, the nature of these voices does vary. Some do claim to hear what they say sounds like a woman's voice, possibly reflecting the legend of Sarah Winchester herself. Others report multiple voices, suggesting like a gathering or a group or a party is going on.
Whoop whoop.
Now, skeptics offer several explanations for these voices. Now, this, in a sense, does make to me that given the unusual architecture of the house, sounds could carry in unexpected ways, and this could lead to a misinterpretation. So, the echoes and the unique acoustics caused by the maze like design of the mansion could distort and amplify otherwise normal sounds. So, in other words, you could hear a sound that's coming from the next room, but because of the way the house is made, it could sound like it's coming from the opposite side of the house.
Mhm.
So, that's the skeptic's explanation as to why these voices come about.
I mean, you could also kind of hear with the fact of, okay, you're sitting there, waiting your turn, and in the tour, and you can actually hear the whisperings of the tour going on, say, 15 rooms ahead.
Very much. The groups of gathering of people could be people, they're just there waiting to get into the place themselves.
Hmm. So now there has been occasional reports of organ music playing from unidentified source within the mansion. Given Sarah's deep appreciation for the music, some seem to speculate that the phantom organist might be Sarah herself, or perhaps a manifestation of her lingering presence as her organ sits still in her home. Organ music, which is a rich, sometimes haunting tone, naturally evokes strong emotions. Is that if indeed the mansion is haunted, as some believe, the organ music might be reflective of Sarah's emotional or expression of her spirit. That being said, it being especially poignant when considering the personal tragedies she endured, including the death of her child and her husband. As with all other mysterious occurrences in the house, there are more than one grounded explanation. The mansion's peculiar architect and acoustics could amplify and distort sounds from outside or elsewhere. This could lead to a misinterpretation as a phantom organ music, or it could be a big T-Bone and Charlie X driving on by with their music pumped out across the highway. It's just a
But
suggestion.
yeah, but again, why would they be listening to organ music for one? And two, how could other sounds make a significant melodic tone such as an organ?
Yeah. Like I said, you got that deep bass going, down, and then of course, I'm just trying to get on the the skeptical side.
Right.
Yeah, there's also been accounts of unexplained sounds, tapping, and other rustling of clothing, often in parts of the house where no visitors or staff have been present.
Yes. Some also have claimed to actually see apparitions throughout the house. Perhaps the most frequently mentioned is the apparition of Sarah herself. Some claim to have seen her likeness in the bedroom, especially where she passed away. The descriptions often portray her as being small, elderly, and resembling a few of the photos that exist of her. Sightings of Sarah's ghost aren't typically described as overt, menacing, menacing
Menacing,
or words or malevolent. She often appears, however, somewhat pensive or simply going about her daily business, as if she's tending to the house that she loves so. So this could be a residual haunting,
maybe.
especially if she's unaware of the people around her and she's just doing her thing.
Hmm.
Um, it is often described, like many of the other ghosts, as being fleeting, and people may catch a quick glimpse of her in the corner of their eye, and when they turn around, she's gone.
Right.
In addition to visual sightings, some visitors and staff have reported feeling a mysterious presence or an unseen force in parts of the mansion. Un, um, I'm sorry. These feelings, they say, could be also attributed to her lingering spirit. There's also been reports of spirits that resemble workmen or servants in the mansion. And I mean, given that the house was constantly under construction, Sarah had employed numerous staff over the years. So this could be workers that were tied to the mansion.
Right. We don't know if any accidents may have happened while construction was completed. That should be an important question to ask. One of the tour guides, if you ever want to go. Were there any construction accidents?
Well, I'm sure there had to have been because I mean, if you think about it, this was the late 1800s, early 1900s. So working conditions were not as safe as they are now. There really wasn't OSHA to make sure that people were safe wearing their hard hats or, tied off when working in high places. So I'm
Safety
pretty sure
glasses.
yes, I'm pretty sure there might have been some accidents there.
Right. Uh, Now, there is also another commonly mentioned apparition is that of a man with jet black hair. This figure has been reported on various parts of the mansion, and there's speculation that he may be a former groundskeeper, or some may even say that he may have been an assistant with the house history. He is usually described in a period appropriate attire, making the late 19th, earliest 20th century, which is in line with the era during which Winchester Mansion saw its most extensive construction. However, unlike some spirits, mind you, my friends, he is could have been a head servant, a favored worker, or even a groundskeeper. However, to have good solid links in the apparition to specific historical figure connected to the mansion, so they don't know who he is, but he likes to hang around. Ooh, he likes to hang around the whole town. In the house, out the house. We don't know what if he's a man or a mouse. He's the man with jet black hair.
Yes. Like other reported spirits, the man with black hair isn't usually described as menacing or malevolent. Most accounts do portray him as an observant or a watchful figure. So this could be like a caretaker or somebody who looked over the grounds. especially since he's, again, sometimes seen going about his tasks or appearing before briefly vanishing.
All right, take him to the bridge, throw him overboard, see if he can swim back to the shore. Everything's okay.
Okay, I don't know what that has to do with anything, but while he is one of the more frequently reported figures, it's worth nothing that not every visitor or staff member reports seeing him. I'm sorry, it's worth noting, not nothing. It's worth noting words. However, those who do see him describe similar features and behaviors, lending to consistency to the tales. Um, Again, aside from full apparitions, some reports describe fleeting shadows or movements in the periphery of one's vision. These quick, often indistinct sightings add to the mansion's eerie reputation. Some believe the shadows are manifestations of spirits or entities that are connected to this house. Or it could be the way the light is hitting the wall, but I
Hmm.
digress.
Yep.
Another theory in paranormal circles is that the shadows represent residual hauntings. Now, I've never heard of a shadow person being a residual haunting.
No,
Um,
but it could be, basically shadows of the construction, or maybe even Sarah herself. There. It's speculation sometimes that shadow people may be just the remnants of the shadows still on the wall. Not to be confused with the Sattler Brothers song.
okay.
You know, uh, counting shadows on
Yes,
the
yes,
wall.
I know which
Hey,
song you
one,
mean.
one, two. Okay.
Yes. Now, people who report seeing these shadows often describe a feeling of a sudden chill, a sense of being observed, or unexplicable unease. So maybe these could be the more sinister spirits that are here of the people who lost their lives to the gun. Um, Again, these feelings could just be intensified by the legends and the anticipation of experiencing something supernatural while you were there.
Mhm. Now, skeptics often argue that the shadow sightings is merely an optical illusion, uh, dealing with the fact that the mansion's unique design, uh, having myriad of windows set into odd angles and varying light sources, kind of like the prism effect. It could create fleeting shadows or distortions that the human eye tries to interpret as moving figures. Cold spots, even in a room or location, are where the temperature is noticeably cooler without the apparent cause, are a common phenomenon reported in supposedly haunted locations. Those who experience these phenomena often describe them as distinct areas where the temperature is noticeably cooler than the surrounding environment. These cold spots can be as small or as low as a few feet in diameter to cover large areas. They've often seen to have no discernible source. Again, you're talking about a an old drafty house, so that does kind of mean that it could or could not be haunted in the mansion. Cold spots have been reported in various rooms, hallways, and stairs throughout the vast estate. Some areas with the frequent reports may have been particular historical or uh, anatomical significance, but the cold spots can appear virtually anywhere in the house because it's an old house, not properly weather treated.
It's drafty,
Yes,
microclimating.
yes.
Yes, it is unclear exactly when and how these stories originated. Skeptics do argue that these tales were likely exaggerated or even fabricated over time, particularly as the house's reputation as a mysterious, haunted location grew. Such narratives would undoubtedly draw more interest and visitors to the mansion. Now, as for the hauntings, skeptics approach the reports with caution and are known to provide alternative explanations for this phenomena. They often argue that the reputation and lore of the Winchester Mystery House creates a heightened sense of expectation among its visitors. So when people are primed to expect supernatural occurrences, they might be more inclined to interpret ambiguous or ordinary events as something more paranormal. The mansion is also sprawling and eccentric architecture, and this could be responsible for many reported occurrences. The myriad of windows, odd angles, and various light sources could produce fleeting shadows and distortions. The unusual and often confusing layout could also give visitors the feeling of being watched, or maybe not that they're alone. I think a lot of it is the anticipation of wanting something to happen that contributes to actually getting those feelings like
Hmm.
something's watching you or whatever.
Yes. Okay, so it is unclear exactly when and how these stories originated. Skeptics argue that these were tales passed down through largely exaggerated or even fabricated over time, particularly being that the house's reputation as being a center of psychic seances and mysterious and haunted locations grew. Such narratives would undoubtedly draw more interest in various visitors of Kent. As for the hauntings, skeptics, do approach the reports with caution and often provide alternative explanations for the reported phenomenon, often arguing that reputation and lore dealing with the Ceros house creates an incited and heightened sense of expectations among visitors. When people are primed to expect the supernatural, I think you've already explained this again, but it looked like you read over my stuff,
I apologize. Yeah, my brain is not the best right now. I
right?
apologize.
Now, the myriad windows, odd angles, pyramid effects, shadows, the acoustics all delve into the fact that is it haunted? Let me show you the other alternatives of why it's not be. We do know that Sarah did seances. Sarah was afraid of being hunted down, so she slept in four bedrooms, each one a different night. She had rooms that led up to go nowhere. She had rooms that led to go somewhere. She had rooms that dropped off into the shadows. So, what's your opinion? Theories, thoughts?
Yes, aside from skeptic disbelief, there have been a few things the believers claim to have as evidence of an actual haunting. Some visitors claim to have captured anomalous images in their photographs taken at the mansion. However, again, skeptics do often attribute such photography to dust, reflections, lens flares, or other common photographic issues. Um, so it would be interesting to have a photo from there actually tested. I know one of our listeners, Jackie from Learn About Ghost, she has a way of testing photographs to find out the validity of them or if it's something a natural occurrence.
Mhm.
So I would love to see if she's had any photos from here or seen any photos and her thoughts on that. But tell us about the EVPs.
EVPs. Now, there is a claim to capture EVPs in that house. Believers might hear a distinct word or phrase. Skeptics often attune the sounds to background noises, radio interference, or suggest that the human brain is identifying patterns in radio silence and other random sounds. There has been reports of objects moving on their own, doors closing and opening without an ancient and apparent cause, or even lights touching on or tugs. As with any other claims, they are difficult to verify without clear and repetitive evidence under certain conditions. Now, EVPs, I would say if you get different EVPs each time you go back. Means that you're having a conversation. But if you're getting the same EVP that Bob, the the paranormal investigator, gets saying the exact same words, I would think about what's going on. Whether so.
Yeah, that could possibly be a residual haunting.
Hmm.
Also, the Winchester Mystery House has been in the media for quite some time. The first appearance of the Mystery House was in 1960, and it was used as the Cyrus Zorba House in the original movie 13 Ghosts, which was directed by William Castle. Not to confuse with the remake. Freaky movie.
Hmm.
Just FYI, if you haven't seen it, that movie freaked me out. Also in 1966, the house was featured on the album cover of the California rock group Count Five. Ugh, words. It
Count
was on,
five.
yes. It was also the inspiration for the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney World, and it first opened in 1969 in California.
Hmm.
Interesting. I did not know that.
I did.
Well, la di da. Aren't we special?
I am, because I is so special, so special. You know. So now the house is primarily setting for Michael Rosner's 1993 science fiction novel *Vanishing Point*, in which it becomes the home of a squatted community following the disappearance of the most of the human race. The Winchester has been set it for a subplot in the 1997 Tim Powers fantasy novel *Earthquake Weather*. The story of 2001 miniseries Red Rose, created by Stephen King, was inspired by the lore surrounding Sarah Winchester and the Winchester Mystery House.
Now, I did see the miniseries Red Rose. That was very interesting.
Hmm.
And by the way, Danita says you're a show off because you knew that.
Yes.
Now, The Haunting of Winchester is a ghost story musical by composer Craig Baumler. This was written by Mary Bracken Phillips, and it takes place in the house. It was commissioned by San Jose Repertory Theater for its 25th anniversary season, and it premiered between September and October of 2005. Also, the British paranormal TV series Most Haunted Live did conduct a 7-hour live investigation of the house for the Travel Channel. This was on Monday, October 19th, 2007. Yeah, not too sure about Most Haunted. I've heard some things. But speaking of hearing some things,
Yes.
in 2011, for the fourth episode of season 5 of our favorite ghost hunter, Zach and the Ghost Adventures, they went to the Winchester Mystery House. And I think they did a live seance on it,
Mm,
if I remember correctly.
yes.
Yes.
And then, of course, you've got 2011 of Mythbusters. Mythbusters, everybody. Smell of Fear. The build team visited the Winchester Mystery House to look around and later watch one of the scariest movies of all time on a television that they sat up in the grand ballroom with the purpose of determining if fear does smell differently by gathering their sweat samples for testing at the end of the night. While the team
Ew.
watched, yeah, oh, they did some ooze. While the team was watching the movies in the dark, the show's crew randomly made loud noises to increase the frightening experience.
Ew. They collected their sweat and
Yes,
sampled it.
yes. Sarah Winchester, The Phantom Opera, is a 24-minute film by French filmmaker Bertrand Verleno, which has its North American premiere at the 54th New York Film Festival in October of 2018.
16.
16. It looks like 18. In
Yes.
2016, Season 1, and 2018, Season 4, the Winchester has featured on BuzzFeed's Unsolved Supernatural, involved in the Ryan Bergman and Shane Mandel staying at the house overnight.
Yes. In 2017, it was also featured on Ghost Brothers, which is an interesting show. Have you seen Ghost Brothers?
I've been wanting to.
Oh my gosh, those guys are hilarious. Love it. It's a really good one. Um, Also in 2017, filming did take place on the property for the film Winchester, and this was featuring Helen Mirren, who played Sarah Winchester herself. It was released on February 23rd, 2018. In the trailers and on the poster, the film is noted to be based upon a true story.
True story.
Despite evidence that much of the stories in the movie are disputed by Mary Jo Ignoatho's book, Captive of the Labyrinth.
Yes.
And then also the Lore podcast on episode 79, they did an episode called Locked Away that described the mansion as well.
Yes. Getting up to 2018, criminal podcasts, criminal, and it's criminal. Uh,
Criminal.
CGRIMINL
Nope, CR. It's a crime
okay.
podcast.
Produced an episode about the Winchester mansion entitled "The Widow and the Winchester." House Penance, a Dark Horse comic by Peter Tomasi in Detram and Dave Stewart, is a first biological horror graphic novel that illustrates the house as a haunted and Sarah as being obsessed. Ms. Winchester's Gun Club, a novel by Douglas Bruton in 2019, which is the adult fiction concerning Sarah Winchester and telling of a group of stories voiced by the victims of Winchester's gun.
Oh my, sounds interesting. I'd like to
Yeah.
read that.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, in January of 2021, there was an episode of an award winning podcast, This Paranormal Life.
I actually listened to Miss Paranormal Life. Those guys are really cool. Two
Yes.
Irish guys.
Yes, I think I've heard them before. They're
Yeah.
interesting. They released a episode discussing the Winchester Mystery House, where they claimed all the hauntings were false.
Mm-hmm.
So this closes our information on Sarah Winchester and her mystery house. So we ask our viewers and listeners, what are your thoughts? First of all, let me ask you, Rick, what are your thoughts? Do you think she was led by spirits to build the home, or was she just eccentric? And
I
is it
think
really haunted?
I think she was a victim of insomnia, and she would spend all night, up in a room somewhere, thinking up all these because she's been told by a psychic back in the day that it's your fault that uh, your husband's guns killed so many people. So in order to protect yourself, you got to keep building these rooms to keep the spirits at bay. To not know where you're at.
The very bottom.
Very bottom, yes.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Yes. I personally think she was eccentric. I think she was just kooky and a little, and she just was wanting to build a fun house to live out the rest of her days after losing her husband and her daughter. So she just decided that she was just going to come up with this crazy design and build, you know, hey, wouldn't it be fun to have a door that opens to nowhere?
Mm-hmm.
Or wait a minute, I think I'll have a staircase go up to the ceiling. Yeah,
Yes,
I think she was just a little eccentric and decided to have fun with building her house in the remainder of her days.
maybe.
Um, but we would love to know what our viewers and our listeners think. Definitely leave us a comment on if you think she was haunted by spirits or if she was crazy or just your thoughts in general on the whole topic of Winchester Mystery House and Sarah Winchester. Shelley says depression, grief, influence of spiritualism, and money. I agree with the influence of money.
Well,
She
so
had all
like
this
I
money
said,
to blow.
well, I also look at it the fact of being lonely and being manipulated.
That's very possible. There was a lot of manipulation back then with the spiritualism.
Right. I mean, not saying that yes, there were actual people that could reach out and touch the uh, beyond the veil, but there were more charlatans out there that really put a damper on the spiritualism movement. Uh, Again, Miss Winchester may have been duped by the charlatans to keep building on her house until she died. Uh, just, I mean, to how you say, told that well, the reason why your husband died and your daughter died was because of the experience of the people that were killed by your husband's company, and so you have to protect yourself. Give us money, we'll build. We'll reach out to the spirit world. We'll do anything. Just give us more money. Was always uh, a thought.
Yes, as Shelley says, she was an easy mark for the fake mediums.
Hmm.
So I hope you all enjoyed our conversation tonight on the Winchester Mystery House and Sarah Winchester. Next week, we will have a very exciting discussion on mermaids. Are they real? Or are they something that seamen saw in their delusions after being at sea for too long? So this again will be a fun one, and that will be next Sunday at 8:30 Central. So we hope you all are able to tune in.
Hmm.
And anything else before we wrap up this week?
I just wanted to say that we missed you, and I'm sure you guys missed us. Nita, Shelly, all the people that showed up tonight. We love you, and we look forward to seeing you once again next week. Same time, same channel. And
Yes,
with the wanting to basically stress again, you like us? We would prefer on Apple Podcasts a rating of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. That's 5 stars, boys and girls. Can you say 5 stars? I know you could. So
yes. And if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, make sure you like and
like and
subscribe
subscribe.
and join us in our Facebook group where we can discuss this further. Everybody have a wonderful night and sweet dreams.
And unpleasant nightmares.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.